Fair, accurate, to the point. This is Face the State on Montana's news station.
And hello there, I'm Jeff Kelly. Welcome to our show today. Glenn Oppel is with us. He's the government affairs official with the Montana Association of Realtors. And Ronda Tompers is with us too. She's the state representative. And what a topic, real estate. It's so wide. Everybody's been talking about it for the last, well, many years. For the last 3 years, it's really been a heightened topic for people all over the country and right here in Montana. We want to talk about a report that just came out too that the University of Montana helped you guys with. This report is extensive. It's 109 pages. I would have printed it out, but I didn't want to kill a couple of trees doing it. But a lot of information in there, Glenn. Kind of summarize a little bit what the report's pretty much saying to us in 2011 here, the state of Montana real estate.
That's right, Jeff, and thanks for having us on today. We've been doing this report with the University of Montana's Bureau of Business and Economic Research now for 4 years, and as you know and as many Montanans know, there's some economic challenges out there, and the housing market is not immune from those challenges. And what we're seeing with these major market indicators and what we look at with the report are the sales price, obviously, the median sales price, days on the market, sales volume, how many transactions are taking place in these areas. We also look at, with the report, we look at foreclosure information as well as housing starts. And what we're seeing is there's definitely a slump there, and you can see that in the indicators. But there's definitely some good information. There's some positive information coming out of the study as well. The centerpiece data that we put out with this report is what we call the Housing Affordability Index. And what you're seeing in the 8 areas, the 8 large areas that we feature in the report, is that housing affordability is increasing.
If you get a score of like 100 on that, you were doing okay in your particular county? Exactly.
What that 100 means is that the median household income, which we get from the U.S. Census data, has 100% of what it takes to purchase the median priced home. Now, if you dip below that index of 100, that means you're tending towards less affordability. If you're above it, say like Butte, which is has the highest affordability index in the state, that means you're tending towards more affordability.
So we're looking at these things changing, ebbing and flowing from year to year then. And you're seeing this. This also, Ronda, takes into account, obviously, the income, too. And a lot of people's income has dipped over the last couple of years, too. So that takes the rating and goes up and down depending on how much people are making, right?
That's exactly right. And along with that goes that when you have the income that dips a little bit, you'll see that the houses in value are also coming down a little bit so that we can get more of the people to be able to afford the homes that we have in Montana today. So we look at that a little bit, but we're also seeing that we're having a gradual income increase also for a little bit in Montana. So it stabilizes our market of what we're really working with. And in today's world, the buyers are very aware of what's happening. They're very cautious of what's going on in their purchase price.
Do you find it's taking people longer to make up their mind about buying a house? I mean, do they kind of, you know, before maybe there was a rush before the recession, and there were people standing in line around the country to buy a home. Do you find people now can sit back, at least on a buyer's market like this, sit back and kind of take their time and decide whether they're going to make a decision on this or not? And
That's a very good point today. Because of the supply that we have for inventory on the market today, it gives the buyers a lot more opportunity to choose of what they want to go for. And with the interest rates being so low, they have enough time that they can do a lock-in so that they can get that perfect home that they're looking for.
We have a graphic up here of the Montana housing prices, and it's going to vary from county to county, but maybe we could touch on this a little bit. You know, lots of numbers here and whatnot. Maybe we could, Glenn, give us a general idea of what this is telling us right now as far as Montana real estate goes.
This particular graphic shows you, compares some of our major urban areas, say like Billings, to some of the also some regional prices as well as national. And what you see is because we did not have the high highs that you saw in some other areas of the country, as those prices are softening in this downturn, they're not softening as much as they are in other places in the region and in the nation.
So we didn't have those spikes and the peaks and the highs and the lows quite as dramatic as places like Arizona, California, Nevada, where they're just through the roof with foreclosures and whatnot.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's, I was going to tie that into the foreclosure, because we haven't seen the high highs like you've seen in California or Florida or Las Vegas or Phoenix, those particular areas. Our foreclosure rates are pretty comparatively low compared to the region and the nation. But we do have a few counties where if you were going to see the high highs anywhere, like Gallatin, Flathead, some of our resort-oriented communities, that's where we've seen some of those foreclosures in a higher foreclosure rate.
Is Montana real estate still an attractive thing for people from some of the other larger states, some of the larger areas? I know we had a huge influx in population over the last 10 years, people coming from other states coming here and thinking, this is a bargain, what you can get in Montana. Is that mindset still out there, or have we lost a little bit of that?
We've lost a little of it. We have lost a little bit, because anytime that you have those markets where they sold their homes at the high end, came to Montana to pick up the good deal, you're not seeing that as much happen today. So we've lost some of it, but we're also still seeing a lot of Canadian trade coming down.
Oh, yeah. With the exchange rate being...
Exactly.
So they're coming down. We have another graphic here, too, about some of the foreclosures, some of the delinquencies out there, too. And let's talk a little bit about that. You can see where it's the red states, again, Nevada, California, and Arizona. It's pretty out of control there as far as foreclosures go, and those prices drop dramatically. But here, we have some blue and red shown up on our map, too, so things can be good or bad depending, as you talked to earlier, Glenn, in different counties.
Yeah, if you look at Montana, you can distinguish it from the western part of the country, where you're seeing really high rates of foreclosure. We only have 8 counties in Montana that are over 6 foreclosures per 1,000 units, and the 1,000 units is based on the U.S. Census data. And those counties are Flathead, Lake, Ravalli, Gallatin, Park, Sweetgrass, Macomb, and Carter. You can see those in the red there in Montana. So our foreclosure rates are pretty low, but it certainly is an issue to keep our eyes on.
This is an assumption, but I mean, are some of those counties are the ones that we might have more people that have second homes here in Montana? Is that part of what happened?
Right, and Ronda could talk to this too, but it's no coincidence that there's a correlation between those particular counties that might have more of the resort-type communities, second home-type communities that are seeing the higher foreclosure rates, because those homes have definitely gone down in value.
Well, there's something to talk about here too. On the high-end homes, have they dropped more than what the medium-price homes were in terms of percentage-wise from when we had this big kind of a false rise in the home prices?
I definitely think that you've seen those high-end homes come down more in value of what we're used to seeing, because of the fact that, number one, the people themselves, when you have those, the amount of are in the foreclosure ratings that they are, is going to create the market to see a decrease in the value of the homes also. So you always will have that little bit of there, but along with that, it goes to the point that you have more people being able to move up into the affordable homes that they'd like to move into their different areas, which will create more of our lower end homes, opening up the market for the medium buyers that can purchase in Montana.
I want to touch on foreclosures here for a second, because a lot of people are out there looking for a bargain. It seems to be a buyer's market, and maybe has been. How long has it been a buyer's market? And is the foreclosure thing to get a loan, it seems to be such a hassle for a lot of people. Is it worth the effort?
I think today what's going on with anybody getting a loan today is really a tough situation, because the amount of foreclosures that we've had nationwide. So what happens then is that they look at a lot more stringent things that you're working with in regards to getting that financing.
We have a graphic up here talking about that too, around from county to county, about some of the delinquency rate out there. So it is tough to get one of these, but if you do, you're going to get a bargain. Is that correct?
You are going to get a bargain. And along with the foreclosure rate, you're seeing a lot of the short sales going on along with it, which if there isn't enough equity there that they can, if they don't have enough money for the value of the home, that short sale will take into place over the foreclosure. And so you've got that you're working with too. So
there's a lot of confusion about short sales versus foreclosures. Maybe you could just kind of break that down quickly, because a lot of people are out there. I kind of have a grasp of it, but I think there is some misinformation out there. Maybe we could break that down.
Okay, great. On a short sale, what happens is the seller is willing to sell the home, but the value isn't there enough of what he has for an outside mortgage, so he's upside down in his home. So what the lender is usually willing to do is to work with it to get that price to be in line of what that home value is really worth. And so he still owns a home while the short sale is taking process. In a foreclosure, the bank has taken it over.
Okay.
The lender has taken that homeowner, and it's up to them to determine what that price is going to be, what they want to have.
All right. Well, I also got to ask you, because people can move anywhere. It's the United States of America. They do anything you want. How do we compare, Glenn, to other Western states that also have, people are trying to decide, do we move to Park City? Do we move some places in Utah? Do we move Wyoming? Where do we go? How do we compare? How do we stack up with people out there trying to, a lot of retirement people out there too. And we were rated here in Bozeman, one of the top 10 places to retire again. How do we compare with other states as far as the statistics go, affordability factor and whatnot for Montana?
Good question. I don't have exact data on where Idaho's median prices are or where Wyoming's are, but comparatively speaking, we've got some a good stock of affordable housing in Montana. And what the great thing about our report is it's showing that affordability is increasing. If you look at areas like Gallatin, Flathead, Missoula, or Valley, where we've had the most acute problems with affordability, you're seeing that price softening, the price is stabilizing more, so we've got more affordability, and it makes it more attractive to people that might want to migrate to Montana.
Exactly.
Housing affordability has a big impact on labor migration in particular, as well as business growth. Companies are going to look at bigger areas like Billings and Bozeman to consider either expanding their business or bringing a new business into town. But one of the things they're going to look at when they do that is they're going to look at housing affordability, because
and we could be a winner in that then.
That's what I'm getting at. And businesses will look at housing affordability when they look at an area and they compare it to Boise, Salt Lake,
and that's
Spokane.
shifted. That's shifted in the last several years, hasn't it?
Yes.
So there, like in any recession, there's winners and losers in all this, and you guys have to go out as the state and market this to businesses too. And so you're saying that we might be, in fact, one of the winners out of this, particularly because we weren't so high and then so low and taking these huge dips, and there's a little more confidence for businesses to come in here and have an affordable housing for some of their employees.
Yeah, they want to know that that prevailing wage that they're going to pay their employees is going to be enough for them to find adequate housing. And we're tending more towards that scenario, and I think that does give us an advantage over some of the other states in our region.
And we have a buyer's market right now. So is the buyer really a winner? Because it's kind of fuzzy when you do the economics of it. You hit your calculator. It seems like you would be doing well, but it's still kind of fuzzy because nobody seems to know where the real estate market's going. So what do you tell those folks out there that want to jump in but are still kind of afraid to get their feet wet?
Well, what we work with all the buyers that we work with is that, determining where they want to be at with their payment and everything they're working with. And we tell them what a great advantage it is that they're able to do this today. So when they can go out there and they can see the inventory that we do offer, we have a lot of it, they can do a lot of negotiating on that price. And so, being a buyer's market, you can negotiate the price, and that's going to make everybody, a more satisfied person in the long run. Buyers today are very, very savvy on what they're doing. We have a lot more education that's going on for them to work with them, so we don't lead them down a road that's going to be a problem for them.
And people are a lot more cautious right now,
very
too,
cautious.
with things. And let's bring up renters then. I mean, this is a factor, but a lot of people have had homes out there that they can't necessarily sell, so they rent when maybe they don't want to keep things going. Is it a good thing for renters in the state of Montana?
It's a good thing for renters to come into Montana if you can find that rental home that's going to be available to rent. Because what we're seeing is, at least in the Great Falls area, for instance, is that we don't have a lot of rentals on the market, so they're paying top dollar at the end for that rent that they're paying for. And in the long run, is it better for them to be paying the top dollar or to be making an investment in the equity that they're going to have something to look forward to of owning a home? So we always have that comparison out there, and Glenn's got a little bit of detailed information on that.
When you start to compare, the cost of owning a home, on a monthly basis to the cost of renting, there's what you find is that most of our workforce is earning enough income to pay for the median priced home out there, and you see that in our index, but you also see it in how much of their income are they dedicating to their mortgage payment.
Exactly.
And then when you start to compare that to a renter, across the state, you're probably looking at homeowners are paying 25% of their income, and we've got that graphic in our report, 25% of their income to their mortgage, whereas a renter is going to be paying 35 to 45, maybe even a little higher in an area like Missoula of their income.
So we're getting some people crossing over that line then, would maybe a couple of years ago, wouldn't even thought of buying a home then, right?
That's correct.
Exactly. Because affordability is increasing, those renters are probably getting a better opportunity now to jump into the first-time home buyer market because the prices are softening, the interest rates are fabulous, historically fabulous, and the inventory's out there as Rhonda was saying, to negotiate for the best price.
Well, Rhonda, we got to step back on that then a little bit too. But it's one thing to have the affordability, then to actually qualify for a loan. Now we know they've tightened the vice on that and made it harder and harder for people to do that, or at least it seems that way. They're asking more questions. There was a wild, wild west. Anybody that had a heartbeat, it seemed like, could get a real estate loan, and now they're being a little tighter with this. It takes a little more time. Talk about that. Do people just need to be patient, make sure they get all their paperwork in order, and those kind of things?
Okay, great. Part of what we do is we have the people go out ahead of time to get their pre-approval rating in with the lender of their choice that they're working with, so that they have all the documentation, that they know that they're going to be able to get a loan. So when they do go in to make an offer, it's going to be contingent upon the financing, but the financing is pretty much in place, just waiting for the appraisal to come in or waiting for title to come in. So by making those buyers go to a lender of their choice and to get the pre-qualification and get the pre-approval in is creating a lot less time too. If you try to go in right at the same time that you're going to buy the home and then find out that you have a glitch on your credit, that's where you get into the problems because they've gotten so tight on it. It's very tight.
So anybody bought a home 5-6 years ago just has to understand the process has changed.
Exactly right. Very much changed, and it's a little more time to get everything done, without a doubt.
I'm still interested from county to county, the differential between, we've got some things going on off to the eastern part of the state where the oil industry and things like that, have we seen a rise in the home values off towards the east where the oil is really taking effect over there? Has that really been a big increase in the real estate prices there?
Keep in mind that with our report, we cover the 8 large counties, which are mainly western Montana, but I think that's a very good question. But where western Montana's dealt with some housing affordability issues, not necessarily inventory issues, but affordability issues, the eastern part of the state has dealt with inventory issues more than anything.
There you go.
You take the oil boom, and this is not just characteristic in Montana.
I hear it's even hard to get a hotel room over there,
It
let
really
alone
is,
a house.
and not only is this characteristic in eastern Montana, we're seeing the same thing in North Dakota, in the Bakken, where they've gone crazy with natural resource development there. It's a shortage of housing, and there's a lot of developers that are a little reticent to go into those areas and build a subdivision because who knows if the development's going to be there tomorrow. The price of oil could dip so far that those workers that influx of workers that have come for that natural resource development and are earning a good income are going to leave. That could happen in the course of a week. So their problem is a little unique from what we've got in western Montana.
That explains that a lot. But I was curious because you would think they'd run over there right away and just start hammering away and building. This brings me to another topic we want to talk about too. Around the state and here locally too, there's construction fees and those kinds of things that have taken sometimes maybe that affordability index and added an extra element of paperwork and pricing to that. We could talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
What are we doing in the state of Montana to kind of keep a lid on the extracurricular pricing? I don't know how to explain that, but maybe
Sure.
we can talk about that.
There's no doubt that regulations, fees put a lot of pressure on housing affordability. And probably one of the biggest challenges we're seeing there are impact fees. And some of the communities that we looked at have impact fees. Bozeman is one of them. In fact, Bozeman's impact fee for a new home is over $10,000 now.
And when you say an impact fee, what do we mean by that?
Sure. An impact fee can be charged for public facilities like roads, water, sewer,
Exactly. Okay.
So on and so forth, a fire station, and it's a way. The local government has the authority to impose that fee on a developer so that they're covering the cost of that infrastructure to service that particular subdivision.
And how much on average could this add to the price of housing?
Well, if you look at the jurisdictions in the state, which are mainly western Montana, that have impact fees, it could be anywhere from $2,000 a lot to up to over $10,000 a lot. In the Bozeman area, I think Belgrade's is around $14,000 a lot.
And if we don't do that, then we're going to pay taxes on the other end. So it's if you want a nice neighborhood, you pay one way or the other. Is that
right? And the realtors haven't been opposed to impact fees per se, but we want to make sure that those impact fees are complying with the state law, the state statute, which has some pretty strict guidelines on how local governments can impose those fees. They have to be commensurate with the cost of the service that they're providing.
Are we doing more or less on that than on a national basis, say from California, Arizona, or Utah? Are we right there with it, or is that it's a new trend, and more of that coming?
Yeah, that's a good question. Impact fees, the advent of impact fees in Montana, it's been over the last few years, really. Whereas other jurisdictions that have been dealing with growth pressures for a long time, decades before we have been imposing impact fees for a long time.
Ronda, I want to talk to you a second about this. Time spent on the market for a house. I mean, people they've got to be shaking their heads sometimes. They think they've got it priced right, and it's just sitting there for a long, long time. Talk about that. I mean, what was it like in Montana before the recession, and what's it like now compared?
Okay, usually days on the market, before the recession, we would have multiple offers coming in the same day that the house would go on the market. So we didn't have days on the market. Today it's taking a little longer to sell your home because of the supply and demand that's out there. And also, every time that a buyer comes in and they ask for information on the home, of a history of
Sure.
the home, they're asking to see how long it's been on the market. They're asking to see the price reductions that have been taken place. And they're bringing that all to the picture when they get into the negotiation stage of purchasing that home. So, the days and the longer it's on the market, even though the seller feels that it's correctly priced, when he originally started out with it, we're still seeing them at this given time that we're having to have those price reductions yet to get the home sold. Once again, inventory is creating a lot of the situation, what's happening.
Are there still, this is hard for me to get a grasp of, but are there still investors out there? I'm not a rich guy, so there's got to be some people figuring this out and going, this is a great time to go pick up a bunch of properties. They were doing that before this, and are there still people out there that are running around the state and trying to pick up bargains like that?
We are seeing a lot of investors purchasing those homes today because they have the stability of what the housing market is becoming versus having their money tied up in a stock market that they don't know what's going to do with their investment portfolio. They are coming back around, and they are picking up some great deals with the foreclosures, with the with all the other type of the sales that are happening. They're finding some great deals, and that's excitement for us because that in return then is going to create the rental market for those people that cannot get their loans, but they still need a place to live.
So do we still have as many people coming from out of state like we've had in the past that want to buy homes, or has that slowed down a bit?
I think that has slowed down. I think it's slowed down a little bit, and you're seeing more of the locals, inside people purchasing the home that live in Montana.
Let's break this down. So we've had the recession for a while. Have we seen any improvement even in the last, we all know it went down. Have we seen any improvement here in the last couple of years in terms of any particular part of the marketplace that's seen an upswing?
Well, the two things that really stand out, when you're comparing 2009 to 2010, are sales volumes are up in some areas, like the Flathead and Gallatin. And the other factor is that prices are down in those areas, which I mentioned earlier, or have had those acute challenges with affordability. Those areas are Missoula, Flathead, Gallatin. Gallatin saw the biggest decrease in their median price home compared to the other 7 areas at a 5.5% decrease. And you've seen that Flathead has gone below 200,000 for the first time that we've been doing this report. Missoula is now into the affordability index of over 100. So they're in that affordability range now.
Who are the buyers and who are the sellers these days? As far as, are they older, are they younger? How do we have this tracked out? Is it?
I think we have a mixture of a lot of happenings. Buyers that are coming in with the jobs that are being created, of course, because for every home that we sell, we've created jobs for everybody else to gain off of. And I think the national statistics out there right now is that for every home that an agent sells, we probably look at about 40 different businesses that are being affected by that home that's being sold. And so what creates that part is it creates another position for income to come in, and that they can turn around and that they can do their thing too. So that's where we're really looking at down the market is that we do have younger buyers. We do, without a doubt. Our younger generation, the generation that wants to go out and they want to have one today and they're going to have it today. Our sellers, we have a lot of our elderly people that are deciding that, you know, it's time to get rid of the stairs. It's time to get rid of that thing. So they're going into their other convenience of living.
Just got a couple minutes here, but I haven't touched on commercial real estate, but it all has an impact. We don't talk about that as much as we probably should, but commercial real estate, they've had their troubles too, right?
Yeah, although we don't track commercial real estate in this, there's definitely some challenges in the commercial real estate arena. I think probably most of all the credit situation for commercial.
To actually get the loans.
It's hard to get the lending.
Well, quick, then we'll get this down. Recommendations for the average person watching our show right now that's out there right now. What do you tell them? Because nobody really has a crystal ball, but maybe we have one here from Montana. Glenn, can you take a second on that?
Well, I think the silver lining in this whole report, although we've got an economic slump going on, we're not immune from it in Montana. The silver lining here is that we've got increased affordability in a lot of areas of Montana. We've seen a 20%, 30% decrease in prices in some of the more challenging areas like Gallatin and Flathead over the last 3 years. So it's a good time to start looking at real estate investment. The other thing is the credit's an issue, and you've got to be very conscientious about your credit as your personal finances. If you're going to buy a home, don't go out and buy a new car. The
Mercedes is out then.
Right? Yeah. Don't incur a lot of debt if you're planning on saving for a home.
Rhonda, we've got about a minute and a half. Maybe you could just tell us what you think too for people looking. Here we are in June. People are thinking about buying homes. They're getting out, running around. Kids are out of school. What do you need to tell them?
What I would say right now, and as the president of the Montana Association of Realtors, it's such an important time for anybody to go out and purchase a home. It's a great time to buy. The interest rates are great. There's a lot of help with different neighborhood housing programs and things that can help first-time buyers get into their home, and it's an opportunity for them that they should really take advantage of, to work with it, to understand what it is when you purchase a home. We like to say to people that, you know what, the home is what your investment is, and it's going to be there for you. But if you don't like it, you can't take it back to any place to get your money back on it. So it's yours. And
get a good realtor, get a professional to help you out.
Without a doubt,
Quickly, we started the show off with that report. We can get that on Montana. Give me the website again.
It's www.montana spelled out, realtors spelled out.org.
Great, and that report is available. You can take a look. It's 109 pages. But if you're going to buy a home, the biggest expense of your life, it might be worth reading just to check it out and see or talk to some of the professionals here in town. Thank you both for coming by and talking about Montana real estate, and I feel better about it already. I just bought a home about a month ago. Glenn and Rhonda, thank you for coming by for Face the State.
Thanks for watching Face the State. This has been a presentation of Montana's news station. Fair, accurate, to the point.